And welcome, flip clock fans. I recently obtained this original Panasonic replacement part for an RC-6530, my all-time most hated flip clock radio. The reason I say that is that when I started this adventure, I was into Panasonics, and I wanted Panasonic radios. So you're talking about the Groundhog Day clock, which is what got it started for me. I did restoration on those and sold those, and the Back to the Future clock. So I thought I wanted to get all the Panasonic flip clock radios. You know the ones, the Cameron, the RC-6030, even the RC-1280, which is my second least favorite flip clock radio. Anyway, this is a brand new mechanism now, and these are smooth flippers, these things. But the horrible thing about these is, just like the 1280, it uses this can, and sometimes people reference this as a Telecron motor. It's like a Telecron motor, but it's not Telecron, and they're horrible. They're just horrible. So, people, they want to open these up and try to oil them and get them to stop making the horrible noise that they make. Now, I don't even know yet. I haven't even had this out. I don't even know yet if this is going to work. So I'm going to touch some electric to this. It's a 120 volt, and we're going to see if it works before I go any further. I'm leaving it in the bag because I just don't want to get stuff on it. I'm going to touch this to the leads here. And just make sure, there's a nice hole there, and just make sure this thing isn't making a whole lot of ruckus. So anyway, we're going to see if this makes the noise. The motor is working. It's making a noise, kind of it's hard to describe, but it's not making the horrible noise that these things do. So my dilemma is, okay, do I go ahead and put this in a 6530 or just keep it for posterity's sake? Because I want to have a working one, but I hate those things. Now, we've got here, there's two different main varieties of these clocks. One has the old style lettering, and then one has the more modern. Of course, they're both old now. The more modern lettering. So I've got to decide which one I'm going to go with, and I'm probably going to go with the older style lettering. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm going to show you now how to get these apart. It may be, if you're working on it, may be a little hard. You need two screwdrivers, the regular Phillips head number 2 and a Phillips head number 1. I also recommend getting something like these. There's like 3 of these. They're stacking, and you can put your screws in there. It's really nice. Anyway, so you got to get the knobs off, and of course they're not going to participate because this is an older clock. So these should come off. One way to do that is you just put a string behind it. Sometimes you'll double loop it, whatever. Just get that string underneath there, and it gives you some pull power. Oh man. Wow. So if you're working on these for the first time, and maybe that's why you've come here, you can see what it took to get that off. So I'm going to wrap this around twice. This has probably never been taken apart. Oh man. I hope the rest aren't like that. So this just comes right off. These, they're just hard to grab. Hopefully. But no, that's sort of why I do this. That was easy. Sometimes people are just starting and they don't want to tear up their clock, and so they just need a little backup and say, hey, I can't get this off. What should I do? And the answer is keep pulling. So these should have those little metal tabs in there that go inside those slots. That's good. Ooh. All right, so how you get this clock apart? Don't take all those screws out. You use your number 2 Phillips head to take the 3 back screws out. Yeah, don't get into all that. But the thing is about these, I've seen listings on eBay, and one recent. So you'll use the number 1 here. They were selling 2 of the clocks. Now, why would they have 2? Why would anybody have 2 of these? Well, you know why. They're trying to get one that works. This is not a good first flip clock. The only reason I would get this if I were you is if it had some kind of, meaning to you. Now, we do know that this is a movie flip clock. It appeared in the movie There's Something About Mary. I had never, I think it's a 1998 movie, and I had never watched that. It's got Ben Stiller, Cameron Diaz, and Matt Dillon in it. So I rented it, or purchased the ability to watch it, I guess. Oh my God, it was horrible. It was terrible. I don't even want to give it. I'm not even going to give it the flip clock movie review. It was Ben Stiller's clock, and if it's set in 98, I think it was. It's modern. It was the clock of a loser, and I think that's probably why they used the clock, because it's a horrible clock, but also it's outdated. He didn't have, he's just a guy. He's got a junky old room, and he had something sitting on top of it, a clock that just wasn't that great of a clock. Probably a really, really good choice, whoever chose that. So it doesn't want to come off initially. So this is where I'm just trying to break it loose. I don't really think there's any tabs there. So there you see, I was lifting up. That was off camera. You see the amount of force it took. So that would scare people, and I can understand that. But it just gets stuck. So we've got a very neatly, let me see if I can show you. Very neatly done in here. A nice speaker. That's the earphone jack. I'm just going to leave all that way. Turn it down so we don't get a ding. But what you're going to want to do, this is the selector for AM, FM, and that little metal box there, you're going to need to get some contact cleaner in there and to spray in there to make that work. Here's the potentiometer. So again, it's nice access here. That's a little difficult, but you can get to it. Spray some contact cleaner in there and work your volume back and forth. So this seems to be working pretty good. So see, it's a little edgy there, so it needs contact cleaner. So now the question becomes, do I want to go ahead and replace this into this clock? Of course, I want to take all these components out, clean this up, clean the back side of this because it's a little smoky. Or do I want to just keep this handy as a reference point in case we ever talk about this Panasonic? As you can see here, those tiles have no marks from these tines at all. Doesn't even look like they tested it. Whereas most clocks that have run are going to have some marks, you see. So I don't know. What would you do? Would you replace it? Would you go ahead and replace it? I mean, if I was going to have this on display, maybe I would. But I'm probably not. I don't know. Anyway, so here we go. I went ahead and I started taking things apart. I think we're going to go ahead and replace that mechanism with the new mechanism that I talked about. So here's our new mechanism. The only thing we got to worry about is getting things reconnected the way they were before. And so this is for my sake and for yours. You'll see what's connected. So we've got on this one the blue and the white connected in that order, and then red, light blue, and yellow in that order in this micro switch. So that's kind of where we're at. Clean this top as best I can without causing any problems. Clean this up, which is going to be the challenge, because they have melted that in there. Now that you can burr that out, it's not worth it. So we're going to clean that up. That's some kind of thing, I guess, to protect the stop the light from shining down out. So got to get a light that's a comparable light. I'll have to find out what kind of voltage is coming through here, and then get this sucker back together. We'll see what happens. I like to play the radio when I do a fix up, but even that small amount might get a ding on my video as far as copyrights. I hate doing that. But anyway, this thing got back together just fine. This is the old one. I've had it apart a couple times. There was a hair back there, a white cat hair. I wonder where that came from. But anyway, I had to take it apart, but then I got it all together, and there was a bracket here that I needed to fix that onto here. So that's a problem that's not going to arise very often. Again, I'm fortunate to have had a new mechanism. We've got everything working now. I have found a replacement light so that it's always lit. But when you push it, it actually lights up brighter. The clock has sleep function. Oh, it's on. Let's see, turn it off. Okay, so sleep function. And then you can turn it to alarm. All right, Kenny Logan's trying to get me a copyright strike there. So it sounds like the alarm and a little bit of radio came on too. Don't know why. I don't know if that's normal, but you can alarm to that alarm or to the radio. And anyway, the radio sounds great. I did lubricated or cleaned the potentiometer and the slider, and that turned out really good. The clock looks great. There's no sound to it. I have never had one of these that was working. And the only reason I got this one going is thanks to that mechanism I had. So there it is. Working Panasonic RC-6530. A very rare bird indeed. Thanks for taking the time.